Today I get the chance to speak to Michael Manavian, Stack&Tilt Authorized Instructor, and happy to be with you, Mike, in person.
Came a long way for this, didn't you?
I'm back in Florida for another wonderful week, and grateful for the opportunity to do this and to speak with you. We're at Mike's indoor facility where he has his gears set up, which we'll get to later, and 24/7 indoor golf in Stuart, Florida. Mike, I wanted to have a chance to speak with you. We've hung out a lot over the years and had a lot of fun discussions.
It's hard to be serious with you, I'm just saying.
The British American thing keeps coming back and forth.
Yeah, favorite doesn't have a U. Everybody who believes favorite should have a U, comment below. Everybody who thinks it shouldn't, put a US flag in.
Put favorite in the comments and spell it correctly.
Yeah, there you go.
Your journey, like all of ours, through Stack&Tilt and with Stack&Tilt is slightly different. So I think it's been interesting for me to listen to people's stories, and I'd love you to share some of your background and how you got into teaching, and then we'll also speak about what you're doing at the moment on the Champions Tour, which I think is really exciting.
Sure. So most people turn professional when they're leave college and turn professional. I became a teacher and thus turned professional in college, which was unique because I started teaching my last internship and really had a passion for trying to figure out how things are put together and how would you fix this person? How would you fix that person? How would you, just a low-hanging fruit. If this person stinks that badly, what could I say to them? So that was always a concept of mine, growing up, even as a young caddy at Oakley Country Club in Watertown, Mass. Shout out Oakley. So as I progressed in my development as an instructor, I went to Methodist University, graduated early from that program, and started teaching at I've been an indoor guy my whole life, pretty much until the last few years being on tour, which is really weird to say. But Ben Roberts and Frank Sergiovanni had a great indoor facility in Norwalk, Connecticut called the Golf Training Center. It was a very similar indoor facility, way ahead of its time, had video replay. We had DOS 386 DX computers, and the monitor was tilted on its side. We had four cameras, front, back, behind, and overhead. And you toggle, the shot was hit, black and white, and you toggled back and forth the forward and back arrow to replay the swing. You couldn't save anything,
right?
But you could draw on the screen with eraser. So I was giving 2,800 lessons my first year out of college, indoor half-hour lessons. It was nuts, and I learned how to cut my teeth. I learned how to teach, and I had some very basics of the golfing machine. I knew my 4 pressure points, knew my 4 power accumulators. I knew I could teach just with that. So I did, and then my going away party, I stayed there for a year. I was going to go play the mini tours, and a guy offered me a lot of money to teach him how to play golf at a private club in the area. So I was like, okay, so I did that, and then I played a little bit more golf and realized really quickly that I didn't know where the ball was going. I didn't have a predictable pattern. I could hit good shots here and there, but I couldn't. There was something missing in my patterns. I also was 128 pounds soaking wet, so I needed to get up to size. I felt like I was always undersized. So I met up with a world champion, Mr. University, Mahalik, and he and I took my physique from 128 to 190 pounds, and then that kind of ended up derailing me from teaching full-time. I still had my private instructors, but after teaching 2,800 lessons, then having one student, I didn't want to go in a pro shop situation again.
Right.
I wasn't gonna. I didn't want to work.
That's a big shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've done the 2,800 lesson thing. And,
yes, you have.
That's a very intensive sort of cutting your teeth, as you say. It's quite a nice way to put it.
I highly recommend it for anybody who's 22, 23 years old.
It's a
Absolutely.
big part of teaching. With the bodybuilding stuff that you touched on there, it was kind of how I got my first experience of sort of meeting you and knowing who you were. Is that little picture you have on your Instagram? You still the picture of you doing the bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's a really good photo.
Did that stop you teaching? Did you detract from golf for a while? Did you stop teaching completely?
No, the whole goal with the bodybuilding was never to be a bodybuilder.
Right.
I was working out to get stronger for golf. And then I got offered 3 years into weight training and teaching golf on the side and trying to play mini tour events, just building my physique, getting stronger, bigger, faster.
Right.
I mean, I put 13% on across the board in distances, and I was able to swing faster and actually, feel like I didn't have to hit 7-iron from 150. Like,
so you were doing what Bryson did before Bryson did it?
Yeah, 25 years ago.
Nice.
So, I got up all this size, and then it just my predictability of the ball wasn't there still. I wasn't able to shoot the scores I needed to. But I always kept my personal clients. We'd go to a range, we'd go to their club, whatever. I'd help them out. But it got to a point where I got asked to do one show, and that ended up being 20 shows in 4 years, and I kept trying to get back into the industry. And I got an opportunity in 2009, so I took 9 years off from working and teaching golf and trying to figure out how to play with being stronger. And I just kept those two things going and trying to make money on the side of teaching. So I was kind of out of the industry, you could say. And then I got back into, I had this whole new database of information. I had a lot of nutrition, a lot of fitness, a lot of dieting techniques and things that could help. But still, at the end of the day, the geometry was out. So no matter what I did, I could feel really good about having bad geometry. It didn't help.
So what was your first experience of stack and tilt? When did that happen?
So when I got back into the industry, I remember asking a person at the PGA show, I want to get back in, I need some TGM guys. Who's the best TGM person? And the most renowned people at the time, 2009, was Lynn Blake and another guy that I was told, you wouldn't like. So I'm like, all right, well, Manzello's not going to be my guy. Fine, okay, so I'll go to Lynn Blake. So with Lynn, ironically enough, he was mentioning this to me at the show, and Lynn walks by 50 feet from us. So I introduced myself. 3 days later, I'm on the lesson tee with him, and he organized me a little bit, put me on a certain direction. And then Facebook started coming up 2009, 2010. And my first ever hearing of the term stack and tilt was Sarah Dixon.
Yes.
Sarah had posted a flat left wrist. I said, where'd you learn that? She goes, stack and tilt. I go, that's the golf commission. Stack and tilt. Okay. I teach that. Interesting. Fast forward 2 months later, my college buddy Gerard Shear, who's a authorized instructor in Connecticut, posted a picture of 18 greens in regulation, shot 65 at the PGA Palmer course, no overdraws. I'm like, what's an overdraw? I'd never heard the term. He goes, well, it's a stack and tilt term. Okay. Move forward a little bit, and our first section event in the Met section, 2010, Gerard beats me by 11 shots. He comes in second in the event at Quaker Ridge, and it was a cold spring day, and I just called him after the round and I said, I don't know what you're doing. I need a lesson from you because you never played that good before in your life. Next morning, 6 a.m., I'm at his place, and he's showing me the grid, showing me some geometry, introduced me to the P system, learned where P3, P5, and P9 were, and I said, okay, if I can get my arms in 20 degrees here, 20 degrees here, I can have a circle. Okay. That was on a Tuesday morning. The next Monday, we had another section event. I finished top 10, and I had no business finishing top 10 before that. Like, I didn't know where the ball was going. Now I've got some geometry. I shot in the mid 80s, and that round was, low 70s. So I'm like, okay, we got something. And I think I took 3 or 4 more lessons with him, just defining the task, hearing it in the geometry, right? Understanding the grid a little bit more. And I had and he had posted it on the Stack and Tilt forum, the public forum. And Andy had commented on it, and I just said, I don't know where your next seminar is, but I'm there. So it happened to be at the PGA show, 2012 now. So I introduced myself to them, and I booked the next day with the amateur. So I had that first day of network training, followed by a phone call at 6 a.m. Hey, can you pick up Andy at the hotel and take him to the course? The other 7 people, their flight got canceled, so you got Andy all to yourself all day.
Did that really happen?
That really happened. So we're at Brendan Kennedy's place in Alachua Lakes, who's an awesome guy, and I pick him up, and I've got a tour coach in my car driving to give me an 8-hour session. and it's on video somewhere. So this whole geometry, and I felt so bad because he had told me the story of the nice watch that he had gotten as a gift from one of the players.
Right.
And he held the two sticks, and I took the watch band off him. I still feel bad. Sorry, Andy. It was horrible. So that got me started in really understanding. I still didn't have a place to play. And then I started working up in the Northeast. Had a job for a couple of years still, so I could play section events and stuff. And then I opened up my own facility, had gears, got through the network training, got authorized training, hosted a bunch, and really immersed myself in understanding what it is that we're learning here, and then doing my own studies. Which, as Andy points out, and everybody I think has pointed out, once you do your own study, nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah.
So every day I feel like I'm doing spectrums. You know, I'll look at a video and I'll look at a before and after, and I'll always put these players together, see how they're going back to my original thing as a kid of just putting the geometry together to see how this player is putting together. I find that fascinating.
I would say that one of my first experiences of you within the network was on the forum. We have the Facebook group, and you discussing gears. We have this avatar playing in the background. Gears, for those people watching who don't understand or know what gears is, just a brief introduction to it, and then sort of how you've used it to help your teaching and also to help us instructors to understand the measurements in the swing.
So GEARS is an acronym for Golf Education and Research System. It's basically, we've got 8 cameras here that capture at high speed and infrared. So you wear 36 markers on your body, you have 6 markers on the club, and every dot is tracked, just like the Avengers movies. So you're an avatar, the club's an avatar, and you hit shots, and then it provides you up to 100ths of a millimeter and 100ths of a degree of accuracy of everything that's happening in time and place. So I saw this originally in I think 2011 at the show. I didn't know what it was, and then I saw it again in 2014 January, and I'm like, I don't have a facility, but I need to get one of these in the network. Somebody in the network has to have one of these, because that was kind of the beginning of these online forums that were really chippy, and people were citing 3D, and we had 3D with AMM and stuff, but then this made it much more realistic and really brought the avatar and the images much clearer. So I got a system, I found a facility, and I started teaching indoors in 2014 now. September of 2014 is when I got my gears, and just started suiting up all the cafe managers and the general managers, anybody who could get around me. I had to get good at it, so I put my time and invested in learning how to suit people up, and went down a whole club fitting avenue, shaft fitting, but really Andy came up a couple of times, drove up from Philly 2 hours to our studio in Greenwich, and we looked at Mike Bennett's P6 for about 2 hours, and every joint, he showed me how to conduct a study. So we had looked at Mike Bennett's right knee at P1, chart it, P2, chart it, P3, chart it, from P1 to P10, all the way right knee. Okay, good, let's do the left knee. And then compare the right knee to the left knee and see how much one's taking away, how much one's adding. And you just immerse yourself in the easy way, or the lazy way would have been go to P1, look at the ankles, the knees, the hips, the elbows. Go to P2, look at it. But you don't learn it that way. You got to start at P1 with one joint, then go to P2 at the same joint, P3, so you can feel that joint and learning how that's moving in time and space. So Andy, he showed me how to make money, basically. He showed me how to be a good instructor and thus making money. He showed me the formula, because the numbers is what everybody's after. Well, what's this number supposed to be? No, it's the formula, which is what I keep saying. Like, if you know how much hip slide you need, it's not a number. Everybody keeps trying to corner me and say, well, what's the number you stack and tilters want? No, it's not a number, it's a formula. The amount of forward bend at P1 is the amount of hip slide at P7.
I mean, it's a really important point that you make there, because this machine and others like it is becoming more and more, we're measuring more than ever. In different ways. Some of these apps and some of these programs do it differently, but effectively, Golf Coach has at his disposal a whole variety of tools that he could measure the swing.
But something you don't need to measure.
No.
Just because you measure doesn't mean you should.
I would certainly have seen this recently in some of the discussions I've had online, and I was on a podcast recently talking about the same sort of thing. Is you need to have a system or a model in place before measuring anything really matters at all, because otherwise it's just data, right? What do you do with it?
Right. I see a lot of instructors buying gears machines. I've bought other people's gears machines and resold them because they can't get their ROI out of it. If you don't have a model and you buy one of these machines, what are you basing your recommendation off of? It's going to be an average. Oh, these 40 people that show up to my facility, they average X amount of degrees off the ball. What does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? Or I don't know. It's just this is the lot that you've been given. The average is a meaningless number. Therefore, I always look at, what's the template here? What are we trying to do? Is it the centered hub or the double pendulum with a third segment attached to the upper axis with a lower translating axis? Okay, as described in the Golf Machine, Search for the Perfect Swing, 70 years ago, I think, my math is quick. A long time ago, they published this, and nobody's really put forth another biomechanical model of the swing. So I know that if my spine, the axis of my rotation, is 2 degrees to the trail side, off of gears, or 2 degrees ahead, I'm kind of in a general okayness. I don't need to be exactly at 90, but if the guy's coming to me with 20 degrees flexed forward, his left arm's not getting past P2.5, yeah, we're gonna start extending his spine because I know what a swing should look like in my head, and I'm able to delineate what joints I need to move on this carcass of a body to get him to, or her, to get to something more better.
Yeah.
Good English, isn't it? More better?
More better. I think that's the American English coming out of you.
No use.
Fast forward to today.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of your posts daily, weekly on Instagram. I see that you're traveling the world.
It's been fun.
Teaching on tour.
Yeah. I don't ever want to teach 2,800 half-hour lessons again. I'd rather work with just a dirty dozen ruthless MFers and just
There's a lot of golf instructors that would see that teaching on tour, and that's what they aspire to.
Yeah.
How did you end up teaching on tour, and what does that really look like in real life?
By accident, I'd say, because I would have done it 30 years ago if I knew this. If I knew I always wanted to be on tour one way or the other, but to get that close to these players, it's really cool. It's a different environment because you're outdoors. You have an iPad, you have your camera, that's it. You have your quad, but really your eyes are and the ball flight and your camera are really what you're using. You don't have access to the 3D, so you better know what the numbers need to be before you ever get one of these machines.
That's something I just stopping you there.
Yeah.
If you see this enough, I won't put words in your mouth. I think I know your answer, but you can learn to see the swing in 3D via a camera.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the most valuable things that Andy and Stack&Tilt has taught me. When you study the swing and you understand the three-dimensional side of it, you can see that in 2D. Andy knew what the numbers needed to be before 3D. So I'll never forget, we were in my studio in Connecticut, and I'm zoomed into the avatar, and it's really, really zoomed into the pelvis. And I say the number, and I said, I think that's I don't know where that is, what P that is. He goes, well, it's P6 because it's 5 degrees in at shaft parallel. I zoomed out, I was looking at overhead, and then turned to the face on camera, and it was exactly P6, not one click after, not click, exactly. I go, how the hell did you know that number was going to be P6 without even seeing it? Because Michael, I spent a lot of days with a protractor and Golf Digest archives in libraries. Yeah.
He would go through and just draw exactly on tracing paper how many degrees P6 was in. And it was like, oh, yeah, this guy knows exactly where things are, and he's a master at it. So,
I digress.
Yeah, no, it was a good digression.
Champions Tour.
So I fell into it backwards. So I got invited as a guest to go to a tour event, and I ran into one of Andy's students, Alex Janka, and he had won 2 major championships the year before. So I wanted to go congratulate him. I hadn't seen him for a while. I'd followed him a couple times around at Hartford at the Travelers, and went over, reintroduced myself to him, and we hit it off. And he, I followed him around that day, and then he asked me, "What am I doing the next step?" I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna follow you. I know you. I don't know anybody else really. Maybe we can. Do you have an iPad?" Okay, yeah, maybe we can look at my swing. Okay, you can help me with my drills. Okay. So then I'll never forget it. We had a nice week. Followed him around. He top 10'd it. I flew back and I had to get to Pebble to play in a pro-am. And I'm sitting there in the tap room, looking at the scoreboard from 2008 when McDowell won the event.
Right.
8, 7, whatever.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And I see 8th place, Alex Cheka. I'm with my guy who got, I was just with that guy this week. I look down at my phone and I got a Las Vegas number. He goes, are you going to be, can you come work with me in Vegas? I'm like, who's this? I didn't have the number. It's Alex. I'm thinking, Alex. Oh. So I'm like, oh. First it was like exciting, and then I was like, there might be a problem here. I excuse myself from the table. I go outside. I call Andy. I'm like, Andy, this is your player. I know people have taken clients from you. I don't. And to Andy's credit, he said, you don't have to even ask. Alex wants your help. You go help him. Are you sure? He goes, you don't even need to call, Mike. Hang up. I go, no, I need to call because you're my friend. I wouldn't do this to anybody. He goes, no. Go enjoy it. He wants your help. Yeah. He'll tell you if he wants your help. All right. So then I flew out and we had a great day of practice. And then I was on the West Coast, so I went out to a couple of tournaments and kind of familiarized myself with, like, where do I go? What do I do? Like, X's and O's was easy, but it was like a little bit of an uptick. And I'll never forget it. I'm filming Alex that first event, and I feel this heat from the left. Somebody's staring at me. And it was Tom Pernice Jr. Next thing you know, he walks up to Alex with his phone and goes, hey, can I get him to film the swing? I was like, who, him? Yeah, go for it. He goes, here. And I'm literally shitting bricks. And he, okay. I film it down the line, and I start scrolling it, looking at him. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at the screen. I'm making it awkward. Like, respectfully, Mr. Pernice, I don't say anything unless there's a question to be asked. I'm asking. Like, what are you asking? Yeah. What do you see? He goes, well, from 4 to 5, you're pretty good. And then you open the face from 6 to 7. You got to slam it down from like 6.5 to 7. And that's why sometimes they just roll up the face and go up to the right. Yeah. And he goes, yeah. So what should I do? Well, I said, yeah, a little more external rotation, a little more protractional trail wrist as you're coming down from 4 to 7. And I'll keep the face close to the shaft, and you'll start hitting these draws and won't, flare off to the right. Okay. He just walks off. And walking back to Alex, I'm like, I think that was a Papa Bear moment. That was making sure that whoever's working with his friend wasn't messing him up, and he knew what he was talking about. So like, all right. And then like 6 months later, he asked me for some help in Detroit. And I've been working with him ever since. So I was like, okay. I was just like trying to like be nice, and they'll let you know if they want your help. So then all of a sudden just being around and evidently people think I'm friendly. You're laughing. I'm not. But
you're not. No, that's why I'm laughing.
And people have they're on a lot of coaches on the Champions Tour because those guys are pretty set in their ways, and they're not. They know what works for them, and they're off a little bit here, but really they feel like they've seen a lot, and if they need a lesson, they know who to go to. But once in a while, you're there, and your players keep doing good. And I'm there a lot, so people just start asking me questions.
That was something Andy always said to me when he was out on tour back in the sort of earlier days, like just being around, you have to be there, right? You can't ask for your help if you're not there. And secondly, the players did well, the results speak for themselves, and players are curious enough. Would you say, it'd be interesting, I think, for the audience, some people wonder if these golf pros, and particularly these extremely successful golf pros who are on the Champions Tour and have had lots of wins in their career and things like that, like, are they sort of as susceptible to swing tips or advice, or are they
watch
curious?
Instagram every day.
Are they curious?
They watch Instagram every day. I get 3 to 4 video reels sent to me by different players every day. Tour players, Champions Tour players. In fact, I love it when my guys send me videos from Dennis Sales or you or like people or Gina or like people, my friends. I'm like, I know, I'm staying with that. I remember being at Frisco at the tournament. I drive in, Alex forwards me a video of Rory. And I go, that's Dennis Sales. He goes, yeah, who is he? I go, I gave him this video. He put it online. He took my video, put it online. I'm staying with him tonight. It's like, wait a second, what? I'm like, yeah, Dennis will come down tonight. Like small world, really weird. But it goes to show you when you put good content out, the good players seek it and they see it.
Yeah.
So it's really weird. And then being a little bit of a tech guy, people want to know what I know sometimes, and I got to be guarded and careful that the players that I talk to, I've got my players. So new people have to be like, is it okay? It's weird. Like,
it's a different dynamic,
it's a very different dynamic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Out on tour. It's like, it's still cutthroat.
Yeah.
But there's no cut, so it's kind of like, everybody's making
probably
money.
a little more relaxed than the regular tour.
It's a lot more relaxed than the regular tour.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But again, I'm not looking for new students.
No.
I'm very happy with the players that I work with. And they've all been great to me. I even have guys who don't want any stack and tilt, and they still have help from me. You guys all want to hit a push draw. I want to hit a pull cut. I made $20 million hitting a pull cut. So, okay, I can teach you how to hit a pull cut. You got to be out at 5 and in at 9. Shift that baseline
System.
It's
fun watching you on tour. I think it's great that we have people from the network, knowledgeable instructors like yourself, who are out on tour and giving Stack and Tilt that representation that it deserves. Anything you'd like to add in terms of, you talked about your gears background and the numbers. I think something that I'd like us to use this YouTube channel for, and I know there's some gears information actually on the back end of the Stack and Tilt website.
Yes, there is.
Portal that you helped with. Gears and more measuring, but more information that people can use. What would you say is a useful measurement, or what's one of the most sort of beneficial things that you've learned using gears?
I'm a big pelvic trace guy on gears. So there's a certain trace that the pelvis makes, or the center of the pelvis makes, and it's very clear and dry. The pelvis moves forward, then it moves more forward, and it moves more forward until it moves all the way forward. There's no backing up in the pelvic trace. And the center of the pelvis should go all the way forward.
So that would be a dot, if you like, the center point of the pelvis.
Yes. So maybe we can do some overlays here in a minute, but the center of the pelvis never moves back. Now, as you straighten your right leg, you extend your right ankle, and you extend your right hip, that's going to move your pelvis forward. And it's also going to increase the flex in your lead side, ankle, knee, and hip. Okay, and then per the system, right, you're going to return into your original flex coming down at like P5.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start extending and side tilting the opposite side coming through. So that pelvic trace has a very certain look to it. So when I go overhead, and I just click overhead and look at the pelvic trace, oh, okay. Pelvis is moving back, pelvis is thrusting too much. And then you start looking at all the nice tour player swings. I got Rory, I got Koepka, I've got long drivers in there. I got Wes Patterson. I've got Berkshire. I've got Kisner. I've got a bunch of Greg Norman, Ian Poulter. I've got 30 players. Tony Finau. Now, all of them, again, a model of the system would say that the pelvis moves forward, more forward. Some of these guys move the pelvis back, only to move it more forward, which is crazy. So like Rory has a 10-inch hip slide. He moves back 1.5 inches from P1 to P1.4. I mean, the club has moved 8 inches away from the ball. And everybody thinks that's the secret sauce. No, he's moved 10.5 inches forward from that point. Okay, then you got Bryson, who stands on his left hip at address. So gears nets out the starting point. So Bryson and Rory at P1 are at 0 inches of sway, even though anatomically Rory's a little bit on his right foot and Bryson's a little bit more on his left foot with the pelvis location. And you can see that. And yet at impact, Bryson started more forward, so he has like a 4.5-inch hip slide, where Rory has a 10.5-inch hip slide. But he already started there, stayed on his left hip, and just turned around that point, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how it should be done. Now, I'm not saying Rory has to give $1 back with 80 million he's made on tour, but like he doesn't have to go back and forth. You don't have to go back and forth. He does it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect him, but he has to make sure that he slides far enough forward, where Bryson really doesn't have to worry about sliding it up because he's already there.
Yeah.
And then you look at every good player, their left hip is over their left ankle and their left knee's in front. None of them have their hips back.
That's that wrench concept, right? The wrench.
You might have made a few videos on that, huh?
I think what you just shared there is so valuable. I've been teaching a while now, and I would say that for me, the magic move, and I've heard Andy say this as well,
Yes.
the movement of the pelvis is the secret sauce. If you get that right, you'd have a fighting chance of being a good golfer. And to your point, nobody who's any good moves that pelvis back. It moves forward, and it moves far more forward than people realize, I think.
Yeah.
And in the best players, like your Rory there.
Can I qualify
Scotty.
the best players for a moment?
You can.
Because the best ball strikers may not be the best players.
Okay.
I've seen patterns, even on the Champions Tour, of pelvises moving back that you would never teach, that are slapstick, like garbage swings. But these guys can get it done because, again, it gets down to the third fundamental. They have a predictable curve. It's not far enough to be the longest hitter, but it's far enough to reach the par 5s and 3 and par 4s and 2 and par 3s and 1. They might use some hybrids, they might use some longer irons, but they slap this thing around. You know, their hips are back, you know, but it's repeatable. And all of a sudden it's, well, can I chip and putt?
Yeah.
Well, let's qualify. Anybody who's on tour can chip and putt. Levels of fine, but they can get around. And then if they know how to aim this bad swing over and over again, you know, that's out there on tour.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping on the driving range to watch that guy hit balls. I'm going to Alex. This guy you could test golf balls with, which we've seen. Like, I remember we were at Firestone on the 5th hole there as a par 3. We're going down 6. I think 5 is a par 3, 4 or 5. And we went around the bunker and hit a bunch of bunker shots. And then he hit the ball off the tee and hit a couple balls off the tee, and we took one and just hit it from the fairway. And this ball was scorched. It didn't move, and by the time the ball got acknowledged that it was hit, like 200 yards out, that like 150 yards out, it started doing some weird stuff. And I'm like, did you see that? He goes, yeah. I cut the ball in the bunker. So like, we're at that level of ball striking where the ball matters.
Yeah. Where
Where you could see, like, when he took a bunker shot and cut it a little, and I went straight to that ball. I looked at him like, oh my God, there is a cut on this. The aerodynamics were like I'm an indoor guy. Ball goes 10 feet every day. But like, you go outside and like, when the ball actually matters, when they're that sharp, yeah, the ball actually matters. But like, your local club golfer, yeah, play whatever you want right now. But at that level, it matters. So that's the guy I'm going to go watch ball striking. The other guys, you know, they'll say club fitting doesn't matter. They'll say the ball doesn't matter. They don't care. And then you got ball striker galores like that who just can like tell the difference between the Pro V1, the Pro V1X, a cut ball, a tour ball, a practice ball.
another level, a whole different level.
And I wouldn't have appreciated that unless I saw it with my own eyes. And I've seen it like 4 times. And I'm like, oh, is that a bad ball? Because I'm looking for them.
Interesting.
It's weird to explain, but if you stand there long enough and you observe golf shots over and over and over, and you go, oh yeah, that ball was bad. That was a bad ball. That was legit a bad ball, like a range ball that got tumbled over or it got landed on a rock or something, and it's got a big scuff in it. I'll like tee those up on purpose to now like entertain myself.
Some of us might be old enough maybe to remember
smiley faces.
hitting the Balata ball, right? The one that you knifed out of the bunker. The one that I knifed out of the bunker. And that very next, you knew as soon as you hit it, you were like, oh my God.
I remember being 9 years old, bought my first sleeve of Tour Balata 90s.
Yeah.
Black sleeve, triangle black. Went out in the first hole, hit that tee shot, got to the fairway, I was like, huh, there's a smiley face on it. Let me get the put the ball there. Hit that, got to the green. Oh, another smiley face on it. Like, what did I just buy? I'm going back to the DTs.
Interesting. Mike, it was interesting to have a sit down with you, and I think
you're much taller sitting down.
Yeah, I feel like that. We are going to be sharing more information on this channel, as you know. For anyone watching and interested in gears, and maybe they have some questions, they put those down in the comments, and you might be good enough to respond over time if you have any specific questions you have about gears. If people want to find you, Mike, where are you based when you're not traveling the world as a superstar instructor?
I'm in my suitcase usually, traveling 30 weeks a year, so it's not easy to schedule with me. It just, you can go to my website, manaviangolf.com, and submit a link. No guarantees that I can make time for it, just because I travel so much. There is a great opportunity in the end of November every year that I go to Jamaica with gears, and it's nice stay and play for a week resort. But I recommend people who watch the channel should come to a Stack&Tilt camp. I'm usually at the ones in the U.S., although I've been known to come to Portugal and Spain a few times. So those are the best ways to get a hold of me. So just book yourself to one of these network things.
I'll put your info, the website down in the description. You can also Instagram. Email and Instagram. He's a good follow on Instagram. I would highly recommend it.
I'm a little bit, I guess. Mike, but I like to put a lot of the content that I have, and a lot of before and afters, and I like to poke the bear here and there, but it's all in good fun.
It's been known.
It's been known.
Mike, thanks for your time. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, bud.
Cheers.